Hello, everybody. My name is Ognjen Martinovic, and I'm from Infobip, working as a senior product manager for our SMS firewall solution. And today I would like to present you one of our latest innovations in the SMS fraud prevention space. So I'm going to talk specifically about the artificial SMS traffic inflation and our solution to that problem. So and as well as to some benefits of that solution to the operator. So to give some context before we actually start discussing the solution, discuss the details about the solution and everything, I would like to provide you some background regarding that. Recently, we are seeing a lot of fraudulent activities in SMS. This is probably due to the importance of SMS that it still has, and it still has a major role in the MNO ecosystem. It's a channel that is used for A2P authentication. It's still used as for P2P, although much smaller percentage than it used to be in the past. But it's still very viable channel for the users as well as for the operators. Of course, the traffic is attracting also the negative use cases such as the fraud cases, and this one is one of those that are trying to exploit SMS channel for the gaining of the profit from the fraudulent activity. So what this problem is about, it's about the artificial traffic inflation between two operators. And namely, what happens is that fraudulent parties organize activities in which the unsuspected or suspected users as originating MNO install an application which then basically sends traffic towards another network. Usually these destination networks are quite remote and quite distance international roaming partners with very high termination cost. And the high termination cost is probably one of the key drivers here, because the higher the cost, the higher the profitability out of the fraud. So obviously, this will work better for the fraudsters if the network termination rate to specific country is very high. So, and this is why these are usually a distance network. So this problem or this fraud actually creates problems not just for the originating MNOs, but it can also create problems to the subscribers that are using this application willingly or unwillingly. If they participate in this, they can be accused of doing fraud. So, and the problem is who will then pay for this traffic which is being generated, and this can have a huge impact on the originating MNO, as well as it can also have on the subscribers that are part of this fraud scheme. Regarding the SMS ecosystem in which this happens, so this, I would say, without a deeper investigation, this doesn't look different from a normal international P2P SMS traffic, because you have persons, you have MSID numbers sending SMS traffic to international destinations. So without any in-depth analysis, it's literally impossible to distinguish what is a normal and legitimate traffic versus the fraudulent traffic. So what we have also observed here is that these international destinations are not always static and are not always fixed. They can be quite dynamic and they can change. They will change over time for sure, because fraudsters are always trying to avoid detection and blocking. And we have also detected that these destination numbers in the cooperation with MNOs, that these numbers that are being targeted for this traffic can also be real, but often are more often than not are actually a virtual numbers. So meaning that the recipient of this traffic can be some platform, or this can go in the traffic is being just terminated, doesn't go to any person. So but it still gets charged, and this cost still goes to the MNO from which the traffic originated from. We have observed also that these destinations can be domestic, meaning in other networks in the country, so other competitor networks. But as I explained, one of the key elements of this fraud is the termination price of the message. So the higher the price is, the better destination for the fraudster that is. So these domestic destinations are quite rare, to be honest, and most of them are international. If you go into a little bit deeper analysis about what this traffic looks like, what is for example, the content of the traffic, then the whole thing gets even more confusing. Because if you, for example, look on the few examples of the content of these messages, you can observe some 2FA-like examples, like verification code with PIN number, and you would assume that this might be a SymBox that's sending traffic. But why is the SymBox sending traffic to a remote destination number that is not part of your network? So that is quite suspicious. Then you have spam examples, which of course can be sent internationally. So it can be as well as that one, but it's not intended to spam or annoy destination numbers. It's actually intended to generate the cost for the operator. And then to make it even more interesting and to avoid some content filtering rules, we have also seen that fraudsters use random phrases. So they can use a combination of words composed to have some meaningful or unmeaningful meaning, and actually to try to do whatever they can so that they can avoid any filtering based on the content rules or something like that. So our solution, of course, had to be built around our SMS firewall, because this is the fraud that happens in the SMS ecosystem. So it's perfectly normal that the solution needs to be done on the SMS firewall. And basically, in the way how we did this, we have fine-tuned our solution so that it can be precisely set to look for this kind of anomalies, for this kind of fraud types, so that it can target them, detect them. And of course, once you have the detection and everything, you need to agree on the strategy with the MNO, whether the traffic will be blocked, whether they will report this traffic to the destination operator, how will they proceed with this. But usually the MNOs like to block this traffic, because the longer you leave this fraud unblocked, the higher the cost might be, and it will be just harder and harder to actually mitigate that cost and remove it from somebody that is asking for this to be paid. So about this solution, so the very first time that we actually detected was with our SymBox detection model. So as I explained, this comes from the subscribers. So it comes from phone numbers that are used by the normal persons that install certain applications that generate SMS and send SMS in the background. So of course that this number have pop up in our SIM box detection reports, but they have been very, very strange because in the way that how they send the traffic, they didn't send them domestically, they send them to the international destinations. The empty traffic phase of the FSM MO is not necessarily needed, but in case that the FSM MO part of the traffic is not possible, it's definitely viable. So I would resort to that if the FSM MO analysis is not possible to do. As I explained, mostly the destination numbers are international, but in some cases that they can be domestic. So you always have to look into the domestic ones, even if they are rare to be used. We obviously attempted to resort to the looking on the recipient and focusing on destinations, but as I explained earlier, the problem with that approach is that these destinations are quite dynamic. They change often. They are not commonly used always all of the time. So you can be struggling to identify them versus normal and legitimate traffic. So instead of that, we actually shift our focus to the sender side in the way that the sender is showing the fraudulent type behavioral, and it's also sending to risky numbers. So we obviously combine two of them into one, and definitely doing the analysis on the sender rather than on the destination help to make the quicker solution. And of course, the cooperation with the MNO here is the key, and it's very important that both the SMS firewall solution and the MNO make the common decision on how to deal with this fraud, because there are more ways on how you would follow up with this problem. So, and not all of them would be applicable for every single MNO. So regarding our SMS firewall solution, it's award-winning SMS filtering solution. It uses machine learning, NLP, and various other technology perks to detect and to block traffic in real time. It is deployed on 30 plus MNO worldwide, so we have a global know-how in that area as well, and it's completely developed in-house. With more than a decade in this A2P SMS ecosystem, so we have also great expertise regarding that. The solution itself obviously was built by the tech people, but it was heavily influenced by the business experts as well. So we combined the best of the both worlds to build this solution for our MNO clients. And we use this solution not just for the fraud prevention, but also to help MNOs monetize A2P SMS traffic. The business model for this particular solution, so I would say from the benefit side of the operator and subscriber, this, unlike other types of fraud, it actually tries to hook and I primarily mean about, let's say, gray route A2P SMS, where you might be receiving an A2P SMS from a gray route. It doesn't hurt the end subscriber, it hurts the revenue of the operator. But in this particular case, it can also hurt the subscriber who is already sending this traffic. So it's really protecting that subscriber as well. And it's protecting MNO from this cost as well, because it can be very difficult actually to dispute this cost with the party that is claiming the cost, because the traffic was sent out of the network. So it will be paid, and it will be very, very hard to dispute the cost. So, and it will be very hard to agree on what is legitimate and what is not legitimate traffic of the total traffic sent to that network. Our solution that doesn't imply any additional cost for our MNO clients, so it's part of our solution, and basically it's basically part of the standard business model that we have with our MNOs. And basically the way how we came up with the solution and how do we get the awareness of this fraud in the first place, we detected this problem on operators around the world literally in the same time. So this started to happen and suddenly spread to all of the countries. We basically then locked ourselves internally to brainstorm about the solution, how we can actually come up with the solution. So obviously this required different perspective from different angles, and once we built the solution, so we obviously had a great benefit of having our product development team working in agile principles and having 600 plus developers on the entire Infobip side, and more than 30 of them assigned just for the SMS firewall was quite enabling for us to build a solution for this, and basically allowed us to make the solutions for our MNO clients well before this issue was presented on the industry as the fraud case. So it was raised almost 6 months after we had actually deployed this on the very first MNO site. So it helped us to protect our clients well beyond in the industry. This was recognized as a fraud case. So meaning that we have actually helped them saving a lot of unnecessary bills for this fraud traffic. So the way how we tackle this problem is we use, same as for the symbols detection, we use machine learning, natural language processing, statistical modeling, so that we can actually drive the automatic detection. Automatic detection is then followed up with the automatic traffic filtering. So in the whole process, we have tried to eliminate the need for human intervention, because if you have a human intervention in the process, that usually implies the delays, and delays will obviously allow part of that fraudulent traffic to slip, and the slippages can be quite costly, not just for the MNO but also for the unsuspecting subscriber that is source of this fraudulent traffic. As I have basically explained, we have launched this on many of our MNO clients, and we have raised awareness about this traffic anomaly, and we have a blocking arrangements with most of our MNO clients. So as with any other fraud type, this fraud is likely to evolve. So we plan actually to continue monitoring it, continue to adopt our solution so that it can maintain the edge, so that it can be effective against this fraud type, same as with any other fraud types, and this is completely aligned with our roadmap of our company. And as I have explained now, this fraud type is generally recognized between the operators. Operators are aware of that and are working together actually to address and mitigate this fraud. Good thing is that this awareness is already, so it's very good that we spread awareness about this fraud, because this fraud is damaging for both subscribers and the MNOs. And basically not stop there. We need also to get in the trace of the money, also try to see who is behind of this on the recipient end, and try to actually forbid this kind of deals, because these are misusing some of the roaming connections between the operators. So this obviously also needs to be addressed. And that's everything from me. Thank you very much.